What's up, fight fans? This is Counterpunch with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Mark Breland. Mark Breland makes a bold statement. He states that Deontay Wilder's career is over. And of course, he said he's done with Deontay Wilder, but we all know that. But let's talk about his claim. Now, a lot of people have asked or speculated that maybe Mark Breland went a little bit too hard on Deontay Wilder, by saying his career is over, and to elaborate on this, I think this is typical, okay, with a twist. It's typical because we've seen when fighters lose, and we've seen where after they lost, they get rid of their trainer. Then they start fresh. They get a whole new trainer with a new game plan or whatever that promises all this and all that, and they move on from there. And of course, there is some bad blood. We saw this before, Abel Sanchez, Golovkin. We've seen Danny Jacobs, Andre Rozier. We've seen Andy Ruiz, Manny Robles. We've seen these type of relationships split apart. We saw that. So that's typical. So it's also typical to hear how trainers will say something derogatory about the fighter. But here's the twist. Okay, the twist to this whole thing is Wilder accused this man of something really unspeakable, foul, okay? And I think that's where this is coming from. Mark Breland saying Wilder's career is over, he's done, because I think that's coming from an anger point of view. However, I think it's one of these, it could be based on some fact on what and how Mark Breland explained that Deontay Wilder conducted himself while training. Okay, so for Mark Breland saying, hey, he's done, I think a lot of that comes from anger or from the result that he was accused of something that he states that he didn't do or couldn't have done, which I believe is true because he had nothing to do with a lot of other things that Wilder accused other people for. I mean, if you look about that whole situation, just look about that whole situation. He blamed everybody else but himself. He blamed the referee, crabs in a barrel, drunk. He blamed Mark Breland, he spiked his water. He blamed Tyson Fury for tampering with his gloves, even though his trainer was there watching him the whole time, skinning and grinning. He blamed the costume, right? Now, being too heavy, but he did not blame the men that made the costume. But that's kind of like indirectly what he was doing. Like, it was too heavy or whatever. It just felt strange or whatever. The scratches in the ear. So not only were the gloves tampered with, they were tampered with spikes or some type of claws or whatever. Then the egg weights, okay? Then they brought up the whole beginning fight of Glove Gate 1 and all that. See, all that spiraled out of control because Wilder couldn't find a way to deal with him losing to a guy that was better than him that night. Nothing more, nothing less. But with Mark Breland's been with him long enough to know or to have a pretty good opinion or an educated guess about how he feels that Deontay Wilder and his career is going or what's going to happen to it. So, to counterpunch, do I agree with Mark Breland? Is his career over? I don't think it's over. However, I do think that he needs to get over this. Because if you notice, Wilder, the fight with Charles Martin's not happening. I don't hear him talking about Andy Ruiz. I don't hear him talking about anything except Mark Breland because of what Mark Breland has said, which I have, the counterpunch with that, with the other videos that I dropped the first volume this morning. So I haven't seen him progress as a fighter since the loss. And understand, people, the loss, he's been out of the ring for a year. He's been in and out of training. He's supposed to have been injured. He injured his bicep before the fight, during the fight, after the fight. He's supposed to it was so many damn stories about what was going on because so many people was running their fucking mouth. And we don't really know who is really telling the truth. Because you hear this source, and then someone else will contradict that and say, no, that ain't true. This happened this way. So everybody has their different story or perception or narrative about what happened. Okay? But what I see is Wilder waddling in the same shit that he's been doing. He should be talking more about the future. His career doesn't have to be over. That's my counterpunch. It doesn't have to be over. I don't want it to be over. I don't desire it to be over. Because his career honestly just started, people. His career as a fighter just started. I mean, seriously. Yeah, he's been fighting for over a damn decade, but he's been fighting people that no one ever heard of or no one that gave him any type of threat whatsoever. Just hitting these guys that had part-time jobs or what have you, or 2 or 3 jobs, and then, oh yeah, I box on the side. He was knocking them dudes out that was ranked way out there. That wasn't even ranked, okay? And this was a lot. That was 85 to 90% of who he fought that really weren't even ranked as boxers in the top 100. That shit is sad. So his career has just started because then he knocked out Brazil. He fought Ortiz twice. He fought the two Tyson Fury fights. That's 5 fights. Okay, you beat Ortiz by KO, and Ortiz beat you every round except the rounds you knocked him down or out in. Okay, that should have told you something. That should have been a red flag right there. Then you fight Tyson Fury, a guy that's been drugged up, depressed, living in less, a mess, right? And he went to you to pass another test of how he could stand 12 rounds with you and you not get that guy out of there. That's where the problem started. It started with Tyson Fury, and I hope it don't end with Tyson Fury. But if it did, it would show that, hey, you were everything that people thought you were. You were a person that were a one-trick pony. You had no skill because you didn't believe in it, because you had your power. You were arrogant. You thought you were something that you weren't. You thought you were worth more than you weren't. You talked up a good game about someone that was worth money and was worth that value because his marquee value on top of the things and the opposition that he fought made him worth that. Along with character and other stuff, and I'm talking about Anthony Joshua. So, yes, this guy, if he doesn't come back to the ring and if he doesn't get himself together, his career is over. And Mark Breland would be right about that statement. Because all I've seen again is Deontay Wilder talking about what I can't believe someone said about him. But Mark Breland saying, hey, his career is over based on this and that. Listen, if Deontay Wilder doesn't know how to train properly, take this seriously, it is over. But do I want it to be over? No. Does it have to be over? No. It don't have to be over. But he has to get out of the slump. He has to get out of the he said, she said. It's like a bunch of girls at this point. You're worried about what another man said because you initiated the fucking talking. You created that. So at the end of the day, is Mark Breland right? From what I'm seeing, yeah. But it's up to Deontay Wilder to turn this thing around. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think. In fact, I'm going to make a poll on Mark Breland's claims. You guys vote. Let me know what you think. We'll do a Q&A live. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.